On the 22nd of June, a small fleet of the much anticipated CyberCabs finally hit the streets of Austin, Texas. It was Elon Musk's first step towards delivering on his years-long promise about self-driving cars. Naturally, all die-hard Tesla fans were excited to see the cars in action after such a long wait. Maybe this would boost Tesla stock massively, so everybody was eager to see how this would perform in real life. People even went out their way to make arrangements to test the cars out. But there was, however, a slight problem. Tesla was operating on an invite-only basis, and basically everyone invited to test out the cars was a Tesla influencer. The perfect crowd of people to give unbiased and fair reviews of the cars. Definitely no chance of being blinded by their loyalty to the brand and their audience. But unfortunately, not even the influencers' overwhelmingly positive and maybe scripted feedback about the cars could hide the issues people were starting to see. I mean, let's just be real, no amount of praise is going to hide the fact that the robo taxis just aren't ready for the road yet, especially with just how much they can't adapt to real-world issues. In what has now become a viral clip, a robo-taxi tried to park behind a UPS van to drop off its passenger. The problem? The UPS driver is busy backing up to parallel park. A human would have clearly waited their turn, but the AI isn't built like us. It kept trying to move forward despite the UPS truck obviously being in its way, while the obvious decision should have been to back up a bit to give the needed space. Fortunately for the passengers, the robo-taxis were launched with human safety monitors on board, and the monitor in that car quickly brought it to a manual stop. But unfortunately, the list of bad decisions made by the AI-driven cars is concerningly long. They've been filmed braking for no apparent reason, speeding, even driving over curbs and parking lots. While the speeding isn't exactly crazy, mostly just cases of cars going 37 in a 30, is still a very large margin of error, especially since Elon Musk has frequently said that he and his team are paranoid about safety, but apparently not paranoid enough to make sure your creation obeys the most basic rules of the road, the speed limits. Part of the problem is that robo-taxis just seem to be indecisive, which might even be the most human feature it even has, or rather their onboard GPS makes them do interesting things like circling a parking lot because they can't navigate around a blocked entrance. This indecision can also put passengers in potentially deadly situations. Take this car for example. As it comes to a crossroads, it can't seem to decide whether it wants to go forward or left, so after freaking out a bit, it compromises by driving forward on the left lane for a few seconds. Fortunately, there was no ongoing traffic when it happened, but that doesn't make the situation any less dangerous. Just because no one got hurt this time doesn't mean it won't happen again in the future, especially if Tesla doesn't fix the option for passengers to end their rides early. So far, that option has led to robo-taxis stopping in the middle of a multi-lane road and a busy intersection. But the scariest thing about these mistakes is that people working behind the scenes don't even know how the AI makes these decisions. This video is sponsored by PLAUD. You see, sometimes I'll be in a really interesting meeting or on a call with someone for hours only to end up forgetting everything we spoke about. Or I'll just be so caught up in a conversation that I forget to write down the important details. And if I try to use the voice memo app, it will just drain my phone battery and won't summarize my discussions for me. If I use Notion, then I'll have to input the notes manually and it's just such a hassle. And using your phone to record doesn't feel professional for business and really weird to use socially anyway. But this is where PLAUD comes in. Using PLAUD Notes, this device will take notes for you and then turn them into instant structured notes by capturing everything and missing nothing when taking notes. PLAUD is powered by leading AI models, which enables PLAUD to understand meetings and conversations like an intelligent human being. By archiving all of your information from your discussions, it will answer all of your questions and extract any insights you had. And PLAUD Notes is a hands-free note taker. You can just leave it in your phone or wallet and let it start recording. By doing this, it's freed me from taking long notes and missing so much important information in meetings that I otherwise would have forgotten, whilst also keeping you present in phone calls. Or even when I'm just brainstorming in my head, I'll speak to the notes and it will summarize everything for me to reflect on later. And if you're worried about your privacy, you'll be happy to know that with PLAUD, your data is stored securely on the hardware and synced with AWS cloud services, guaranteeing that your personal data won't be sold on. And best of all, if you use my code MOON, you'll get a 20% discount, so make sure to use the link in the description below. You see, the AI behind Tesla's robo-taxi suffers from the black box problem. One engineer even admitted that it's near impossible for them to see what went wrong when the AI misbehaves and causes an accident. The black box problem is similar to the way humans learn by example. As you grow up, you forget why you learn to make certain decisions the way you do. And the same is true for AI. It doesn't keep track of how it learned to make decisions, so the engineers don't know what to look for. So unfortunately, there's no way for them to safeguard against those failures in the future, which is certainly comforting comforting to hear. But with this in mind, it does make sense why Tesla included onboard safety monitors in the launch, but it also makes you wonder why Tesla is trying to remove the human aspect of taxi driving if AI is such an issue. Ultimately, their presence defeats the purpose of the cars being self-driving, so these monitors will eventually operate completely remotely. While there is some comfort in knowing that the cars will still be monitored, it's taken away by the fact that the AI is just so unpredictable. Combine that with Musk's plan for millions of these cars and the worry grows. While teleoperation is all well and good in a limited space, as proven by Waymo's self-driving operations, people are doubting how well this will work on a larger scale, especially over the concerns over a lack of teleoperators, or even worse, the teleoperator losing connection with the car during an emergency. Ultimately, people have zero faith in Musk's plans, whether it be his fake promises about delivering things that never happen, or just the sinister nature of all of his businesses taking over humanity, or even just him being an oligarch in the US. People don't trust him anymore, especially with the self-driving cars, since he's made so many unfulfilled promises about self-driving cars since 2015. And now with this launch, people can't help but compare Tesla to its competitors, and one of the most damning comparisons is Google's Waymo. Waymo and Tesla have been pitted against each other ever since both companies developed an interest in self-driving cars. Google has always seen this as the future, and the competition has only gotten so much more intense as their technology has developed. However, what was once a relatively fair competition has become a humiliating display for Tesla. See, Elon Musk kept promising new developments in Tesla's self-driving cars and failing to deliver on these promises.
Is the future of the auto industry autonomous? Are these things really going to be a reality?
A Tesla car next year will probably be 90% capable of autopilot. So 90% of your miles could be on auto.
I mean, my guess for when we will have full autonomy is about 3 years.
3 years.
Approximately 3 years.
I think probably by end of next year, self-driving will encompass essentially all modes of driving and be at least 100 to 200% safer than a person by the end of next year.
Tesla didn't have complete autonomy in 2018 like he promised 3 years earlier. Customers weren't sleeping while their cars drove them around in 2019 like he'd promised 2 years before. And his company's vehicles still need to reach level 5 autonomy as he promised. In fact, they're still sitting at level 2. This was despite the company's huge development strategies and the tons of data they fed into their AI systems. Tesla at this point is one of the biggest AI companies around. Meanwhile, Google's Waymo took a much more cautious approach. There were no overeager promises or hair-raising predictions. They instead just slowly pushed on, and the hard work has paid off. Their cars reached level 4 autonomy, and they were the first company to offer robo-taxi services without safety drivers in the vehicle. And now they are spreading all across the US. This was made possible by combining LiDAR with radar and cameras, while Tesla is still relying on AI learning and cameras. But both cars still have their disadvantages. Their systems are limited by weather conditions and environments, and you can only go so far in specific geofenced areas. But it's clear both are taking huge steps towards a more autonomous driving experience. And that does seem really cool at first. It's a fun novelty, and it may even lead to cheaper transport options and reduced driving deaths. However, there is an elephant in the room, because of course, one of the main issues with all of this is whether this is going to lead to massive unemployment. Taxi services are one of the biggest employers in the world. Even Ubers are one of the many ways people can even afford to live in this economy. And self-driving cars could easily make companies like Uber completely obsolete. And of course, Uber's definitely not perfect. We've made a huge video about this before, but it's not just taxi drivers we're talking about. This will also massively impact truckers and everything that's being built around supporting them. I mean, Tesla's even now announcing they're going to have robo trucks, something that Andrew Yang warned about years ago.
Cars and trucks are going to start driving themselves, which is going to displace truck drivers. Truck driving is the most common job in 29 states. There are 3.5 million truck drivers, 94% male, average age 49. And that's an obvious change that's coming down the pike 5 to 10 years from now.
Ever since 2019, he's been warning about the replacement of truck drivers. It's one of the biggest industries around and plays a vital role in the economy. However, truck drivers need to sleep, they need breaks, they need holidays, and they need to be paid well as actual human beings. So it makes sense that these companies want to get rid of them entirely. Which is why, according to Andrew Yang, as self-driving trucks become more reliable, they will risk the jobs of 3.5 million people. And that's just in America alone. And it's not just the truckers, but the entire industry around them. The employees at truck stops, motels, gas stations, and other spaces frequented by truckers will also completely suffer. It will completely decimate the American heartland's economy. Even just the general facilities for road trips will be reduced down. And it might not just be jobs, but our actual liberties too, as governments around the world are already showing how little they care about individual freedoms. And it will be a straightforward argument. Why should humans be allowed to drive when AI doesn't drink, text, fall asleep, or make silly mistakes, or even get road rage? You see, as accident statistics plummet for autonomous vehicles like robo-taxis, governments and lawmakers will face mounting pressure to ban manual driving entirely. Why would you let a human drive and risk death and costly damage when you can just get AI to do all of it? That way humans will never need to actually drive and AI can do all of that for them. Which also means, as we're seeing with Teslas already, that government authorities and companies will have ultimate rights as to how you use your vehicle. No speeding, no carbon emissions, no loud music. Even now, Teslas can just be turned off whenever the company needs to.
When the Ukraine invasion happened, when it first happened, a lot of people were saying that Elon Musk should shut off all the Teslas that are in Ukraine. And I was thinking, like, wait a minute. He could do that? Yeah, of course he could do that. And I was like, ooh, that's not good. It's not good to have someone to have the ability to shut off your fucking car when you're on the highway.
Meaning you actually never have full autonomy over your own vehicle. And once AI driverless cars are the norm, you won't even have any ability to actually have true authority over where you go and how you use your car. Instead, that power will always be centralized at the top. So what was once a symbol of freedom will now be reframed as a public safety risk. Insurance companies will refuse to cover human drivers. Cities will redesign roads exclusively for AI coordination. And eventually, human driving may be regulated to private tracks like horse track riding is today, just a nostalgic hobby, not a practical means of transport. This world may feel safer, more efficient, and cleaner, but it comes at a huge cost. We give over our freedoms to a technocratic government. Where you go, how fast, and even if you're allowed to go at all, can now be dictated by algorithms, centralized systems, or governments. Something that the robo-taxi is pioneering. The freedom of the open road, once the beating heart of American culture, will just become a relic of the past. And as Elon Musk's AI becomes more and more advanced with Neuralink, Tesla, and even Starlink, will lead to a world where autonomy no longer means freedom but automation. Ultimately, this is incredible technology on the surface, but it's coming at a huge cost in the future, not just for the companies developing it, but for those who will lose their jobs and possibly even their lives to this.